Hi, for this workout, you're going to need 2 balls that you can place under your hips. I'm using the Franklin Method textured ball set. Lying on your back with your arms on either side, draw your shoulders back, widen your collarbones, and lift your legs to tabletop. If your hip flexors tend to be really tight, drop your heels. Otherwise, you're going to lower and lift your legs. Inhale to lower the legs and exhale to pull them up. Do you notice how wide my chest is and how my arms are pulled back? That's actually really challenging for me because I have rounded shoulders. In this case, I'm demonstrating what not to do. So try not to let your legs drag you about and make the focus of this exercise more on what your arms feel like, what your back feels like, and what your stomach feels like. For example, your ribs should be pulled down. Your ribs should be drawn back towards the mat versus popping up. And focusing on those things rather than on how low you take your legs will mean that you find more success in this exercise. So as I reach my legs, I'm pressing my arms back so hard into the mat that my triceps are on fire. I can feel my triceps clearly. I can feel my back connected and my lats connected to the mat. And I can feel my stomach as my legs move away from my body. The breathing again is inhale to reach the legs and exhale to pull them in. Because these exercises train large swaths of muscle at the same time, don't expect to feel 100% successful right away. But these exercises are insanely economical. Okay, troubleshooting tips. What if you don't feel your arms? If you don't feel your arms, the likelihood is that you're locking your elbows. So try these exercises with your elbows just slightly bent. If you don't feel your stomach, try pulling those ribs down. Try pulling the ribs in as you roll the shoulders back. And then lastly, maybe try lifting the legs a little higher so the trajectory is less low, which gives you more connection to your stomach. It just could be that you're bypassing the stomach altogether by lowering the legs too much. All right, so let's continue here. Inhale to reach the leg, exhaling to pull in. As you noticed earlier, I got off the balls. Now this is even harder because I don't have an elevated pelvis and gravity isn't assisting with this at all. Now I have to pull my rib cage back even more. I have to connect to my arms even more. So if you're finding this a little bit more challenging, place those balls back underneath the hips until you've mastered the connection to your arms and shoulders and stomach. Okay, so from here, I am going to move us into a little stretch here, side to side, a little bit of rotation through the spine, just letting your knees sway side to side. And just breathe however you need here. Okay, so here on the next exercise is actually the first of Joe Pilates 34. It's called the hundreds, but it's a modified hundreds. So using your breath out, try and curl yourself up so that the tip of your shoulder blades are just barely off the mat. You're trying to keep the back line nice and long. And on the exhale, you're going to lift one leg at a time, or both if you have the strength. If you're lifting both legs, you're squeezing those heels together like crazy. So you're using that hot exhalation, that forceful breath out to lift the legs. And as you can see here, I'm pulling on my thighs with my arms so that I can maintain that shape, that hollow hold you've probably heard of if you've been to the gym. In any case, if this is too challenging or you're feeling your neck, just lower those legs right down. Then we layer on with the pumping. Now again, I'm trying to keep my collarbones really wide. I'm imagining I've got 2 springs under each palm, or imagine that you're in a body of water and you're pumping those arms straight up and down. You do all of that and you are good. And you're doing all of that with a sense of control. Okay, so we're going to rock this out. We're going to move side to side in this little ball shape here to open up through the lower back. When your knees go right, look left. And when your knees go left, look right. And now we're going to roll up. So the next exercise is called roll up. But we're going to do this in a modified version first so that you get the idea of the pelvis excursioning around the legs. So again, these are core exercises. You could translate this a little bit into a squat. For example, if you have trouble doing a squat because your back is really tight, this might help open up your back and strengthen your core so that you can improve your squat technique. It is just going to allow you to have just overall more core strength and opening up through the front of the hip. So as you roll up, you might want to exhale here because it is the hardest phase. And as you roll down, as your pelvis excursions around the legs, you're stretching those legs out of your body. Okay, so here you begin your inhale as you roll back, and then exhale to control your descent. You're not falling back, you're controlling the roll in both directions. And of course, the higher you lift your arms, or if you added a weight, that would be even more challenging. So the arms overhead or even behind your ears would make this exercise a lot more challenging because of the weight distribution, right? So guys, if you're having trouble rolling up and you happen to have like smaller legs and a bigger upper body, this is going to be challenging for you because you have more weight to roll up in your top half and your legs will tend to lift. Okay, let's continue here. We're going to do rollover. So let's start with the prep first. Arms back down again like we did in that first preparatory exercise. And as you push down through the arms, make that more important than actually lifting because you're not tenting the elbows, you're not tenting the wrists, and you're not letting those shoulders roll forward. If you know the choreography, I'm adding it here. The choreography, I'm taking those heels together over and then pulling them apart on the way down. If your hamstrings are tight, try adding the footwork, right? So as you come down, you're reaching the heels and rolling down. Meanwhile, you're totally connected to the back of those shoulders. You are connected to your triceps. My upper abs here are on fire as I lift my hips up. My low abs are working and my seat is working, believe it or not, as well. Speaking of seat, let's move into our one leg circle. So I'm going to start off with those little stretches here. You're going to try and keep that thigh pulled into your chest as you stretch the leg. And then when you start to circle, connect to those arms again. Can you feel your triceps? Can you feel those ribs not popping? So pull those ribs back. And then as you circle, we're just doing 5 in each direction. Breathe whenever you can and control the circle. So if you like to move big and fast, go for it, but don't let your upper body move at all. Okay, so inhale here as you keep those thighs, that thigh pulled in. Don't worry if you can't get the legs straight, but focus on keeping that thigh pulled in. And then go for it. We're going to circle the leg. You're trying to reach the leg, but you're contracting your glute. So use your butt to circle that leg in the hip. Notice my upper body is really still, even though my leg is coming around pretty big and fast. So keep that upper body really connected to the mat. You're feeling your triceps, you're feeling your back, you're feeling your stomach. What if you don't feel your seat, right? Well, this exercise here teaches you opposition. So I have a tiny little tutorial where I show this, just this part. You're trying to keep those arms plugged into the back of the shoulder and you're feeling your seat as you roll up. Imagine pushing that heel forward so hard that it goes through the wall in front of you to connect you to your butt. Because opposition is where it's at when you're doing any mat exercise, even if it's not Pilates. This is an anti-gravity exercise. You're trying to connect to muscle fibers in your body without the use of equipment. So to maximize that muscle building formula, that muscle building aspect of these exercises, you have to connect to the opposing muscles. Then we take it into this rolling like a ball technique. Can you feel your butt here? Can you feel your shoulders here? Your arms should be plugged right into the back. If you don't, you need to push harder into the hips. And then we progress. Hands go to the front of the shins. Keep those legs pulled in really tight as you roll the hips over. A little counterintuitive here. If you roll the hips over, it'll bring you back up. And then we go into our single leg pull. I love this exercise. It opens up the front of my hip and it releases the front of the hip. Inhale whenever you can, exhale whenever you can. And if you're feeling your neck, guys and gals, place your hands behind your head. Support your head. Don't push it forward if you can help it. Breathing is so key. Did you know that the diaphragm interdigitates with the psoas? So without the breath, you're basically losing half the exercise here. You want to use that breath like a muscle, right? It is a muscle because it connects to all those core muscles. So exhale to squeeze it all out, and then inhale to stretch those legs out of your pelvis. Feeling your back? Raise your legs a little higher or limit the range of motion. Or check out the fundamentals videos that I have as well. So here we go. Let's inhale to reach, stretch, hold. Exhale it out. Inhale, reach. Stay with me. Exhale, pull it in. Remember, you can always interlace your fingers and hold your head. You can always support your head and neck. Otherwise, you're stretching and holding. Here's that hollow hold again. And I'm smiling, not because I'm nuts, but because I'm leaning into the feeling of strength in my stomach and my abs. And I really hope to inspire that in you as well. Okay, when your knees go right, look left. When your knees go left, look right. That creates a little spiral through the spine, and then come up to the top of your mat. All right. Okay, the next exercise is spine stretch forward. And rather than hinging at the hip, okay, so what does that mean? Rather than keeping your spine uber straight, think about lifting up out of your pelvis and then curling over like a big ball. So on the inhale, you rise. And on the exhale, you squeeze your lady bits, you squeeze your dude bits up. You squeeze the air out by pulling your belly button into the spine. Now we're working the core. And at the same time, you're stretching through the heels. Inhale tall, exhale to curl forward. All right, now this exercise is called saw, but I'm modifying it with my hands behind the head. And you're probably asking yourself, what the hell is this exercise? Like, what's the practical application of this? Well, if you've spent any time in the gym and you've done windmill exercises, kneeling windmill, standing windmill exercises, here's the precursor to this. So if you happen to be in your late 40s like me or 50s and you're really tight and you may be a little bit deconditioned, this is where it starts. You inhale to twist the body without moving the legs. Like, what are your hips doing? If we don't know what our hips are doing standing, that's a problem. So we're going to learn how to keep the hips square on the mat here as you twist. And then you lift up and flex over. So you're getting that flexibility in the spine. You're getting that strength in your stomach. You're working the core. Oh, and guess what? Most of us can't place our hands behind our head after the age of 50 or 60 if we've been at a desk. So we're really working that back all the way up through that mid-back, the rhomboids, and opening up through the chest with this. Okay, yeah, lots to say there. I'm really strongly, inspired about getting everyone doing that seated saw. Okay, next exercise is a precursor to the swan. My friends, before you do your swans and your cobras, you need your butt to be down. You need to have some kind of connection to your seat. So you're going to roll the pelvis backwards so that you push your pubic bone and hip bones, literally your bones, into the floor. Like, you want to melt your entire pelvis into the floor as you lift your legs up and down. Then we can start adding extension. Then we can start pulling back on the hands to find opposition. So your pelvis is curling back, your legs are long, and as you pull the hands back, you're going to slowly take the chest forward. So notice how I said forward instead of up. I am coming up, you're coming up too, but go forward to come up so that we bypass the lower back. Okay, since you have the foundational part, which is the pelvis, now we're just going to add mid-back and lower trap engagement, a bit of triceps here, and of course this overall awareness of the body. So try and hover your upper body as you lift your arms. We're going to do 5 with the palms down, 5 with the palms up. Breathe whenever you can. Now you're warmed up here. The next exercise is going to set you up for your leg pull. Leg pull is so challenging because most of us don't have that connection to the seat. And so here, normally I watch people bend the knees and then their hips lift up, or they're not using their butt. And you may not be there yet, and that's okay. Remember, we're working a lot of muscles at the same time. However, if you can keep your pubic bone dialed back and pressed into the mat, this is going to feel so good. It should feel like a hamstring curl. Then we add the upper body. Okay, so I'm looking like I'm pulling myself through, like my hands are in front of my chest, and I'm literally trying to drag my body forward. I'm trying to pull my chest through my shoulders. I'm trying to pull my rib cage forward as I press down through my hands. Okay, I can revisit that in another video, but let's take it into a child's pose here. And then from this child's pose, grab the heels and try and lift your ribs off your thighs to further enhance that rounded back and that opening through the back. Okay, same thing for this double leg kick exercise. You are going to try and keep your pelvis rolled back. So pubic bone down. I've omitted the kicking, and really I'm just working on extension through the thoracic spine. So I'm really trying to get all of us to open up through the chest. We spend a lot of time at our desk and on our phones. Nest your hands and then inhale, push back to pick up the chest. As you push back, your feet stay into the mat, and you're imagining that you're pushing something away or that you're pushing into something to open up the chest. So you're really opening up and finding the two-way stretch here. You're stretching your ribs forward as you push the arms back. Okay, let's take this again into a child's pose. And then from here, we're going to get ourselves set up for plank. Okay, so the wrong way to do a plank would be with your butt sticking out. And if you happen to have longer legs than torso, or longer legs relative to your torso, longer limbs like me, then you will understand how hard it is to curl that pelvis under. In this plank position, we're going to hold it for about a minute. What I want you to feel is it's very similar to the hundreds position. So it's like that hollow hold. It's like a hollow hold, but on your forearms. And some of you may need to put your knees down. Same thing, that pelvis is slightly dialed under. So what does that mean? Well, when you're in this shape, imagine your tailbone and try curling it towards your third eye, or try curling it towards your throat or your belly button. But basically your pelvis is slightly curled under. My heels are together. I'm squeezing my inner thighs. Again, large swaths of muscle are contracting to support this position. This is a core strengthening exercise. I can feel my muscles in my back, my armpits. So the serratus, the lats are engaged, the shoulders are engaged, my stomach is engaged, and your butt is engaged here. And we're going to take this onto our side for side plank. So in side plank, make sure that you've got the alignment of the shoulder over the elbow. I'm also demonstrating on the knees. So for some of you, you might want to modify being on the knees. I'm going to come up onto the feet. In this position, I'm balancing hips and feet. Try and squeeze your butt. Try and squeeze your glutes here and make sure that you are stacked. So the shoulders over the elbow, hips on top of each other, knees stacked, ankles and feet stacked. And then let's take this over. By the way, these side planks are only going to be about 30 seconds, so they're a little bit shorter. As you can see me pointing to my butt over here, try and squeeze or pinch your sits bones together as you hold plank. My shoulder, as you can see, is over the elbows. You can see my back is working. Knees down, same idea. My hips are open, so I'm making sure my hips are pressed forward. I'm not hinging at the hip. And then front view. So shoulders stacked, hips stacked, knees stacked. And then if you need to kind of pull those ribs up so that you really connect to the serratus. You want those shoulder stabilizers to be working here. I'm raising my arm for those of you that need or want more challenge in this. And of course, you can stay here longer than those 30 seconds. All right, so you're breathing whenever you can. And then to finish, let's just grab onto the ankle, bring those knees together, and side stretch here. And then we'll do this on both sides. Thank you so much for watching.